It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by TheDartZone.com. Stay in the zone. TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Hello, hello.
How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. Hi, everybody. Wednesday the 13th.
It is.
Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, everybody listening, especially all you New Yorkers.
Yeah,
tuning in to
on.
us instead of Game 7 of the Rangers Caps. And the Mets
I'm
are playing the
I'm sure
Cubs.
they've got it on with the volume off while they're listening to us, you know.
I seriously doubt our sponsor will be listening to the show
No.
tonight. I seriously doubt it. Anyway,
I would be impressed if he was.
thanks, everybody, for tuning in. You people in the chat room, I got a special treat for you. If anybody can figure out, A, what the background is this week, and B, why the background is there this week, we'll do something for you.
Right. Give you a pat on the back or something.
Nah, we'll work something out. Anyway, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I was really fine up until about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why, the Mets score?
Yeah, and they're threatening to even score more, so it's total sadness.
1-0 or 2?
Right now it's 1.
Oh, okay.
2 guys on base and you hit the batter. I mean, it's
How'd
the
that
definition
score
of
run?
falling apart.
It was
After
second
that
and third,
double,
nobody out.
yeah, they got a base hit or ground out.
Oh, I thought you said it hit the batter.
No, you hit the next guy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Nobody cares.
I got you.
An interesting show. Disclaim away now, and then I'll tell everybody like what we're doing because we got
The
some
views,
stuff.
opinions, rants, and rampages expressed on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect individually or collectively those of our sponsors, co-sponsors, wannabe hosts, hearing-impaired critics, or those with a penchant for attitudinal dysfunction. We at Dart Talk strive to provide you, the listener, with an educational, entertaining, and fun-filled experience each and every week. If after the show you, the listener, find yourself feeling uneducated, unentertained, and or bored, we at Dart Talk consider that your own problem.
We say that every week.
We're safe.
Okay, so we're going to talk some Premier League.
Yes.
Curtains for Phil.
Yep.
Taxi for Phil.
Too bad.
You know, you get sometimes what's coming to you, right? You're going to miss all these opportunities to win matches. It's going to bite you.
He missed just enormous amounts of
Almost
doubles
every week.
the whole time.
Almost every week.
Yeah.
And
I'm
it'll be
I'm
interesting.
sure he knows it too.
It'll be interesting going forward. I think that the playoffs are going to be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's nice to have Chizzy in there. I guess I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, Van Gerwen hit a little speed bump over the weekend too, or last Thursday anyway. That'll be interesting. So we got the Betway Premier League. I posted that we were. I posed the rhetorical question: are dart professionals supermodels?
Mm-hmm.
So you can ask me about that in the second half of the show. I want to talk a little bit about experience. I had something of an epiphany as I started practicing it again, and I thought it was kind of worthy of some conversation. But starting off, I don't mind being ripped off sometimes.
So,
I mean,
first of all, you asked. I was going to ask you what this picture was, but now I have to wait on that.
Well, see if you get anything
you've
from the chat room.
changed it
I
all
don't
up on
know.
me.
I don't know that we're going to get too many people in the chat tonight,
All right.
but for the people that watch the show, you tell me why that background is there and win a prize.
All right, so back to apparently you've been ripped off.
Well, look, I mean, we offer a lot of ideas on the show, and there's no way on earth that I can, do them all.
Mm-hmm.
right? We basically have given solutions to every single problem known to man, known to darters. So here's how you fix it. Now
go do it.
be off with you and go fix it. And stuff doesn't get fixed, but people do listen, and that's why we do the show. We're not like, I don't consider myself the savior of darts or anything, but I get these ideas in my head, and I think they're worthy of discussion, so let's discuss them, and people can take them home and, talk in small groups.
Well, that's what they do. They
and,
just take them home and then leave them in the junk drawer.
But this is a new one. Now 2 weeks ago, we did we did a mock draft of the CDC because we had a list of the card holders, and it was NFL draft week, and I was amazed at how much mileage the NFL gets out of the draft.
Right. We decided we couldn't pick more than one person from each state.
Right.
And
so we came up with some rules. We drafted our teams, and we were going to kind of track how things went on.
Right.
And it's also a good way of talking about, the CDC overall, right? Because we don't know in advance what the matches are. We can't cover it like Wimbledon.
Right.
Well, in the first round, so-and-so's playing so-and-so. I mean, we may get to that point, at some point where in advance what the matches are, and then there's more to talk about that way. Well, I like Dartoid. Right, I hung out with him on a long night in Nashville once, and really enjoyed talking to him. And he's been around the dart scene forever. So if you're going to be ripped off, at least be ripped off by the best. Right, I get an email from Anthony Eugenia, and he's like, "Hey, check out this site. They actually, what's the name of the site? CDCFantasyLeague.com, where they basically took our fantasy thing and said, here." Everybody can put in their own fantasy team. Only instead of, what was our rule? You could only take one person
from each state. They grouped them into.
They just grouped people into 6 groups and said you could take one from every group. And I'm looking at some of these groups, and I don't know if Dartoid had a beer and put some names on and then started splashing to see okay, whoever I hit here is in group 2,
right?
And because I don't know how I got in group 2. I think that's a total embarrassment, but whatever. But they're actually going to offer like a prize to the winner, and you get a set of darts or something, which is pretty cool.
First place, second, third, fourth, and fifth with signature darts for the most and a little cash on there. But
okay, so I was thinking
they got a whole point schedule.
Yeah. They actually, actually took our idea and actually
so we did this 2 weeks ago. This went on when, like this week.
I got it a couple of days ago.
Right.
So I guess it takes a week to get the website together and everything. So I'm like, okay, you're going to rip us off. Well, let's participate. So I'm thinking we should put in, let's go submit and see if we can win something.
Sure.
Right. So now you can only take one person from each group.
Right.
So you went through my picks from 2 weeks ago, and almost everyone I picked is either group 1 or group 2.
Yeah, almost. I think you got one guy in group 3, right?
Who'd I get in group 3?
Nick Lindbergh. They also ran.
Oh,
you wanted
that was my Ohio throw-in.
One more pick.
Right. I wanted somebody from Ohio.
Right.
Okay. All right. So run down the names. We can't take like 3 hours.
Right.
For this,
but group 1 is Darren Young, Larry Butler, John Part, Gary Mawson, Dan Olson, Leonard Gates, Bob Seneve, Chris White, and Terry Hayhurst.
Okay. How many non-Canadians are in there?
Darren Young, Larry Butler. Mawson's not Canadian, right?
Well, he was born in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Olson's Canadian.
Yeah.
Leonard Gates is Texas, right?
Yeah.
So that's 3. Seneve's Chris White, 3.
Okay. Well, Darren plays so much with Dan. He's almost and he goes to La Scratch every year. He's almost like an honorary Canadian.
Is he? Okay.
Kinda. All right. So we have to pick one of these guys.
That leaves Larry Butler and Leonard Gates as the only ones that. But Larry Butler partners with Bob Seneve.
So he should be part Canadian
he's
too.
Part
that
Canadian
leaves
too,
Leonard.
Leonard Gates. Straight out from Texas, as far away from Canada.
That's
as you can get,
to be honest, as fine a player as Soldier is, I'm not sure how he's going to flourish in a format like this against people that are used to playing it. So I'm not going to. He won't be mad at me. Let's stay away from Soldier on this one. I would say I'm kind of curious if Part and Mawson and Dan Olson will make them all.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Chris White because he's coming from California, and I haven't seen Terry Hayhurst in a while. So who have I not mentioned?
On your draft,
who have I not mentioned?
Well, on your draft, you have your original
I had Darren.
draft. You have Darren Young, John Part, Chris White, and Gary Mawson. I had dismissed 3 of them.
Right.
Which means the only one you did not dismiss is Darren Young.
All right, well then let's take Darren. You have to agree because this is a team thing. Okay, so that's Group 1. We're going to take Darren Young, Big Daddy, and hopefully I won't knock him out. So, okay, now we got to take somebody from Group 2.
Scott Kirchner, Joe Huffman, Mark Fair, David Fadum, Gordon Dixon, Ralph McCool, DJ Sayer, yourself, and Tim Nickel.
Yeah, I don't know how
We're not taking
I'm in this group. Are you kidding? I wouldn't take me if I was in groups. Well, I might take me if I was in Group 6.
5?
But
maybe Group 5 is a stretch.
I don't belong in Group 2. I'll be the first to tell you. But, okay, Kirchner, Huffman, Fair, Fadum, Dixon, McCool, DJ Sayer, and myself. So I had Ralph and I had Joe Huffman on mine, and you had Kirchner. None of us had Fair.
Correct.
And you had Fadum.
Yeah.
What do you think? I have it narrowed down to 3.
I would lean between Joe Huffman and Mark Fair.
Yeah. Those were 2 of the 3 I was thinking.
And maybe Fadum.
And to be honest, I think the last time I talked to Ralph McCool, he said he couldn't make the first event in Ohio. He said he wasn't going to go. So I don't know if that's true or not. I believe that's what he told me. It was late at night. I can't say I always pay attention.
What?
I would say, as much as I like Huffman, I haven't seen Fair in a while. And the last time I saw him, he played so well. And he's such a competitive guy. I mean, I wish I could take them both, Mark and Joe. What do you think?
Wish we had an exemption. I would. I would flip a coin.
You know what? I'll say
take Mark Fair.
Yeah. Let's take Mark Fair. I think only because it's an easier commute for him.
Okay.
All right, so
I'll go with that.
Okay. So right now we have Darren Young and Mark Fair.
Johnny K, Roger Carter, Bill Davis, Nick Lindbergh, Chuck Pankow, Greg Van Lynen, Scott Wollaston, Bill Cross Jr., and Ram Guevara for Group 3.
Oh gosh, this is hard. This is hard. Do
you like Ram at all in there?
Well, yeah, Ram's a good player, and it's kind of weird. It's like of the guys that you just said, the people that probably had the best year last year were Nick Lindbergh and Ram Guevara. Except that Bill Davis is the kind of guy that can just sort of show up and win, even though you haven't seen him around, and he's got a lot of experience. I just don't know where his game is at right now. I know Johnny K and Chuck Pankow are kind of busy promoting various darting enterprises, so that scares me away.
Sure.
And then Wollaston, I never know what to make of him because I don't know how much he's playing. Like I know he plays around town, but I don't know how much tournament play he's had lately. So it makes me kind of lean toward people like Bill Davis and Roger Carter can just show up and win.
Well, the way you were just talking, I would say we should take Bill Davis then.
Well, see, but then you're going against the guys that have really produced lately, which is Ram and Nick. See, this is probably where you win this thing. You know what I mean? So we need to be good here. Because Ram plays more electronic than Nick, I'm leaning toward Nick here.
Because you want to have an Ohio guy in there?
No. I mean, the state thing's out of the question. I just like the way Nick approaches the game. Nick is like, Nick has a life and everything, but he plays because he loves to play the game, and he puts everything he can into it. And I like guys like that.
All right. Well, we'll take Nick then.
Want to take Nick?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Group 4, Robin Curry, Shane Meeks, Conley Litton, Donnie Joe, Jim Newman, Kelly West, Don Lobby Sr., Ryan Burnett, and Eric Gregory. I've never heard of Eric Gregory.
Oh, Eric's a Missouri lad who he played a Players Challenge Series match, played very well in Midland, Michigan last year.
Oh, all right.
So
I missed that.
Yeah, he's a fine player. By Darchwell, I think you have to be if you're going to live around St. Louis. There's a lot of steel and soft tip. People play everything there. So Jim Newman's a Philly guy. We all know Callie. I'm interested to see how Callie's going to do. we've seen, Trish beat guys. We've seen Stacy beat guys.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not like Callie can't beat a guy. I just wonder how deep she can go. And I guess, also, you got to see where the, how many qualifiers they get and the quality of that field. So it's going to be tough. So run it by me. So Robin and Callie are both
They're
in
both
4.
in Group 4. Meeks, Litton, Joe, Newman, Lobby Senior. Barnett and Gregory.
Yeah. See, this is one of those things where if you're going to go by pedigree, and the people that have done the best, I think overall, like the person with the best proven record, there's Shane Meeks. I mean, Shane won like a national championship, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Conley, the last time
I was leaning towards Conley.
Well, the last time I talked to Conley, he was really struggling. He said he had lost confidence in his game. He hadn't been winning. I assume, at some point he'll straighten that out. Donnie Joe, he's another guy who's kind of involved with Dart Enterprises, and I'm kind of steering away from those guys because I think that their time is divided. If you only have 30 spare hours a week and you're spending 15 doing promotion, that's 15 you're not going to practice. So where's that leave us? Jimmy Newman's good, solid
Lobby
player.
Senior.
I don't know if Dan Lobby Senior's kind of like a Roger Carter, Bill Davis guy who, I'm not going to say his best days are behind him. He just doesn't play as often as he did back when he was, dominant.
Mm-hmm.
So Shane, I would have to say, and that's the other thing, like with Ryan Barnett. I mean, Ryan Barnett really stopped playing on the circuit. I know I think he plays like somewhere in Pennsylvania. We already got a Pennsylvania guy. I don't know, Eric Gregory or Shane Meeks. I think of the two, Eric has been the busier. And I think that counts for something. When we talk later in the show about experience, remind me of this. Because I had a couple of thoughts on that. And I like Shane. I like Eric, too. I don't know. You pick.
Well, between those two?
Yeah, I think that's probably our best chance there.
Let's go with the guy I've never heard of, Eric Gregory.
Go with Eric? Okay.
Yeah.
God, this is hard.
Group 5, you got Benny Amadoy, Paul Burns, Ken McCown, Pat Gallagher, Perry Preen?
Perry Prine.
Prine?
He's from Cleveland.
Dan Lobby, the second, Russ Lysick, Jason Brandon, and Mitch Payton.
Okay. At the risk of saying I'm brainwashed, I mean, from what I hear, Mitch Payton has rededicated himself to the game. Mitch Payton was the number 1 player in America 20 years ago.
Okay.
And I see him when I go down to I'm kind of surprised he's in Group 5, and actually our musical director's been talking him up.
Oh, all right.
Because they're kind of from the same neck of the nape.
Yeah. And he's throwing well.
That's what I hear.
Could be insider information right there.
That's kind of why I'm thinking, man. Yeah. And to be honest with you, there's some good players there, and the New Yorkers are in there. Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Mitch Payton in Group 5 is like a bargain.
We'll go with the bargain pick.
That's our value pick. Group 6.
The last group, Kevin Yazinchek, Rick Davis, Andrew Van Coverden, John Douglas, Corrine Stockton, Ryan Christofferson, John McCreary, George Timpone. Or is it Timpone? I always forget.
I think it's Timpone.
Okay. Ryan Murray and Alex Spellman.
Ryan Morey.
Morey.
There's some good players in Group 6.
Morey.
Yeah.
Morey, whatever.
I can't take Ryan Christofferson because I'm going to call him Chris.
Okay.
So
that's a good way to be eliminated.
I wouldn't take anybody named Stockton because I've actually been through Stockton. So we can't have that. Andrew Van Coverden won't call himself A5K, so we can't take him.
No way.
Rick Davis, I don't even know who that is, to be honest with you. Kevin Yazinchek, I know. He's a George Ryan Morey. I'm really See, Ryan Morey is like a young up-and-comer guy, and George is like, kind of a seasoned veteran from New York. And, the dart scene in New York, this is a format that they enjoy playing and that he's used to. So I think, and Alex Spellman actually plays this too. I don't know. You want to go young or you want to go with experience?
I would go. Well, Group 6, I would go young. I would take somebody that you would think might be hungry and
Yeah, except I think I would stay away from people that are primarily electronic players that are dabbling. I don't know if that's true of Ryan Morey, but I think in an event like this, what you want to do is you want to take a steel player.
Oh, I wouldn't argue that.
It's because it's a steel tournament, and of all the names there, the only one I see that has solid experience with this format would be Yazinchek and Tim Pone, and maybe Rick Davis. I'm not sure who that is. So.
I would take Tim Pone then.
You want to take George?
Yeah,
let's take George. I can say, hey, you're on my team. Okay. So before you submit it, let's review. In Group 1, we have
Darren Young.
Group 2,
Mark Fair.
The team photo will be interesting. Group 3,
Nick Lindberg.
Nick. Okay.
Eric Gregory in 4.
Okay.
Mitch Payton in 5.
Okay.
And George Timpone for your.
Okay, I like
Group
that.
6.
You good with that?
I'm good with that.
Send it away. Okay, so we have our. Oh dear.
Anyway,
Is that operator error? What'd you do wrong?
Nothing. It won't give me a submit button. Anyway, there might be something else we have to click on. I don't know. I have to figure it out. But it doesn't look like it. But anyway.
What did you not do? Okay. We'll have to work it out. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about experience. You listen to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark, Steve Ponciel. And don't forget, if you're in the chat room, take a guess at why that background is there. And we'll be back in a little bit.
The views and opinions expressed on Dart Talk are those of the hosts. They in no way should be misrepresented, misinterpreted, or made to claim that the universe is against you, your family, your city, or the darting community at large.
Okay, back for the second quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official console distributor. We don't have a cough button. Sorry about that. So apparently,
we didn't.
They didn't rip us off correctly.
We didn't read the directions.
Well, okay. They want you to pick 24 people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
4 players from each group.
I mean, my
There's
God.
9 guys in
I'm
each
not
group,
gonna,
basically, and
gonna
yet
go through 24. It'll take us all night.
so you're also picking almost 50% of the players.
Yeah.
What's the point?
I don't know.
But anyway,
it's fun. We'll fill it out
We'll
later.
still submit one, but yeah.
Well, we have to add names, so there's a couple, like, we wanted Joe and Mark, so we get them both.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good. So we'll have to we'll submit it, and then next week we'll list everybody we took.
Right.
I'm still not taking myself. Just so you know.
Not out of group 2.
Not going to do it. Anyway, in the chat room identified correctly. The background is a picture of the Doors with Ed Sullivan from the Ed Sullivan Show, but there's a particular reason why it is up today.
Which was also
and it is
part
not
of your
the
question.
anniversary of the Doors' appearance on the show. So you'll have to figure out why Steve put that background up there. Talking about experience, it's kind of weird, because I had to start practicing again. And, 30 seconds of personal time. I talked about how at first it was like putting a blank piece of paper in a typewriter when you have to write a paper, and you just stare at the blank piece, and then eventually you just type so-and-so, my summer vacation by, and then you print your name, and then you type that up, you pull it out, and then you put in another piece of paper, and now that's blank, and you're like, So I got over that part. But what I found was that I am now so, totally devoid of any sort of memory of playing because I had so much time off this year that I'm sort of relearning as I go. And I started to think, man, this is so much easier than it was when I first started to play and I didn't know anything.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
So I'm over there, la-di-da-di-da. And then the Premier League comes on. This is last Thursday, right? And these guys are talking, and it sounds to me like, Rod Harrington listens to the show because he says, a lot of this, it's like he's quoting me word for word, and I'm like, okay, there's another guy ripping me off, but it's okay.
Either that or we just say some
we give
obvious
this away.
things.
Yeah, Mr. Captain Obvious.
Yeah.
And you commentate, and you end up kind of saying the same stuff sometimes. So I'm not ripping on the guy, but it just struck me that if experience is so important, then why is Chizzy doing so well where Phil Taylor's not even going to make the playoff in an event that he's won?
I think from a percentage standpoint, you're going to the higher percentage of people that make it have experience. Yeah, you're always going to get the people that don't have experience that play well, but it's going to be a smaller number.
You're familiar with the term beginner's luck, right?
Yeah.
Because this is kind of what I was thinking. I was thinking that when you go into something with a complete zero in your head, where you're experiencing everything new, and you're not bringing any sort of preconceived negative thoughts or anything like that, you tend to do well.
Sure.
Even if it's something like the first time I ever played roulette. Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
I was at a wedding. Somebody, the Excalibur had just opened. So a friend of mine was marrying somebody, and they were doing this King Arthur thing. He had a sword and everything. And then I think the reason that they picked this motif was because she was kind of along.
Mm-hmm.
So she wanted something high-waisted so she didn't look like she was along. So, okay, fine. We hop in the car. I was living in L.A., drive to Vegas and la-di-da-di-da. And then, you do this and you do that. And I was in one tower, and I don't know if you've ever been to the Excalibur,
Yes,
but
I
there's
have.
like 4 separate towers, and then the elevators, all 4, dump you into the casino. So every time I wanted to go to their room to party and stuff, I had to walk through the casino. So I'm walking through the casino, and I looked at a roulette thing, and I was like, So I threw $5 on the table and said, "Can I have number 35?" And the guy just looks at me. So he, makes change, puts the chips on. I stand there. He spins the wheel, comes up 35, and I'm like, "Wow, what's that worth?" And the guy's
35 to 1, baby.
Yeah, the guy's like $175, and I'm like, "Great, cash me out." So meanwhile, there's like 10 people around the table. They had to wait to spin the wheel for me to put the money and get the chips and everything and put it on 35. And now they have to stop because he's paying me off, and they all lost, right? So they're all giving me these death daggers, and I just walked away like, "Hey, man, roulette's easy."
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm talking about with beginner's luck. And you look at Chizzy, and Chizzy strikes me as the kind of guy who's not overthinking stuff. He brings his darts, he unpacks them, he looks at the board, and he's like, "Where's that triple 20? Ah, there it is. Bang, 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 bang."
Yeah.
Right? People overthink tournaments. The guy from Carolina wanted me to talk about this like a month ago. Right? Why is it you can't take your game on the road?
Sure.
Right, kind of thing. And I think part of the reason is that you're bringing too much baggage with you.
Well, we've talked about that before, though. It's the same thing. I mean, yeah, if you could just go in and not worry about your practice session or anything else and just step up to the board, and if the darts go in, they go in. You have to have a blank mind, and just they either go in or they don't.
Well,
but if you start worrying about, okay, my follow-through doesn't seem right, or, I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that, the minute you start thinking about all the things you're doing wrong, you can't fix them in the middle of a tournament.
Well,
so if you go in there with no expectations and you're young and you just, like you said, just go up there, hit the triple 20 and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to matches that I played in tournaments when I first started out. And, my mind was basically a zero.
Well, not only
when
that,
it came to tournaments and stuff.
Okay, and nowadays you talk about my stance is wrong, you're videotaping yourself, you're doing this and you're doing that, and none of those things you ever thought about.
Exactly.
10 years ago.
Exactly. So now that I'm kind of like rebooting, right, I'm going to the board and I find myself doing stuff I did when I first started playing. Before anybody, no one really told me anything. Right, I just sort of kind of taught myself, and I was like, "Wow, how come everything goes in?" And it was just, it was really funny. Like today, my first 3 darts, I threw a ton 40, and I was just like, "Huh, okay, that's pretty cool." I didn't take a picture of it or anything like that, but I was just like,
take a selfie with
well, no,
40.
I mean, and I stood there drinking my coffee, thinking, all the experience that I have, which is now like a dozen years or something, really is only good for me now insofar as I know what not to do. You know what I mean? I mean,
sure.
I think I know now how to get out of my way so I can play the way I played when I first started, which was like I would go up to the line and I'd play, so I didn't know who the guy was, and I would just throw my darts and then shake hands at the end, and then after a couple of tournaments, everybody's, if you win, people are like, who was that guy? I don't know. I never saw him before, kind of thing. And then eventually, if you go to enough tournaments and people start to recognize your face, then it's like they'll start talking to you.
Yeah, and, But you could
Um,
also take the experience thing from a different angle. You could take the experience from U.S. darters as opposed to overseas where, we're playing more cricket, and then why is nobody successful overseas? Well, they're not playing long format, so you don't have the experience in that. Or why do cricket players aren't good at 0-1 games because they don't have the experience? Of that.
But you know what? It isn't so much that they lack the experience. What they lack is they haven't taught themselves or they haven't learned the nuances of playing Steel 501, so they give away
but you
extra
still need the
rounds here and there.
experience of playing a set of 11 instead of sets of 3.
Yeah. Well, sure. I mean, the mindset of the mindset you get in with, it's kind of a trap, but the mindset you get into playing long format matches is much different than, say, the league match, where if you lose the diddle and you lose the first leg, you have the throw in the next leg, so there's like less tension, right? I think it was, I can't remember who told me this, but somebody was saying, this best of 3 diddle every leg, you play every leg under pressure. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of do, and it shows. It shows in the way people stress over, like, the stupid diddle rules and stuff like that, right? But, I'm thinking to myself, I know kind of how to be, now I know what my mindset should be, when I walk into a tournament. And I don't know, it's not something I had given a lot of thought of over the years. Since we started doing the show, my record is going like right down the tubes. I don't know that I've won like a big singles event since I started doing the show. And before I started doing the show, I had at least one singles victory in a $20,000 tournament every year for like 5 or 6 straight years. Right? So there's something about doing the show changed my focus as a player, and to, I think Larry Butler's wife said that after I'd been doing the show for like 4 months.
Oh, really?
She's like, you're not playing as well now. So maybe I should have listened. I don't know.
Might have been the first time you ever listened to her.
Yeah. The point, though, about the experience is, it cuts both ways. I mean, if you have 20 years of experience to draw on, not all of it's good.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of weird.
You can get that in your way.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, I'm thinking back now to particular matches and particular things I did in certain situations and how I responded to this and how I responded to that, trying to recreate what my mindset was back when I was playing my best. Mm-hmm. And it was way more of a blank.
Sure.
Than
that would make sense.
It has been, lately. Mm-hmm. Right?
I was like that too, and not even at the level you are, but yeah, I mean, when I first moved back up here to Chicago and started, it was plastic tip down south, and it was like up here, and you pick up a steel dart, and like I said before, I mean, the first league match I ever played, they didn't tell me what was going on. I got put into 501 singles and lost the first leg, and shook the guy's hand, said nice match, and they said
I thought it was one leg.
I thought it was one leg, and I was like, oh no, it's best of 3, and then all of a sudden, boom, I win the next 2, and I win the first match I ever played. But it was like I had no thoughts. I just went up there and and that's the start of it. And I was good for years, and then all of a sudden things change and my head gets in the way. And
yeah, it's amazing, because we talk about how mental the game is. And there's a book I read a long time ago by Milan Kundera called The Unbearable Lightness of Being, where you don't have to read the whole book or see it. Don't bother with the movie because you'll miss this. But if you read the book, I think it's in the first 15 or 20 pages, there's this wonderful paragraph where he describes the physical, and he describes it to a T, what you feel like inside when you fall in love. And it was like the best description of something I'd ever seen. And that's where the title of the book comes from, because you feel this lightness, mm-hmm. right? When you have the right attitude in front of the dartboard, it's not lightness, it's an absence. There's like stuff that just isn't there. And it's funny to try to recreate space in your head. That's why people do Zen and
right.
meditate and stuff like
mm-hmm.
that. And I just found this like completely and utterly fascinating. So as I'm building up, my practices and stuff like that, it started to excite me. I was like, well, now this is, I should have thought of this 5 years ago.
So you just have to figure out a way to keep your mind blank.
Well,
so to speak.
Well, the secret is you have to forget.
Yeah.
You have to forget all this stuff and just play.
Right.
And you talk about, you hear this in every sport anybody ever talks about, being in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the moment is the absence of the past because you're only in the moment.
Yeah.
So all the past stuff is gone.
You have to have a very short memory.
Yeah. You have to have no memory.
No, almost.
I mean,
right.
like literally no memory.
Yeah.
And
you have to remember what you have to hit in order to get to your out.
But that's automatic.
Right.
That is all automatic. If I'm on 48 and I have 2 darts in my hand, I don't think about where the dart's going.
Yeah.
I know where it's going.
Yeah.
If I have 82 with 2 darts in my hand, I know where the dart's going. I have to think.
Yeah,
about
you're not waiting for your opponent to throw with thinking of your options.
No,
you're just waiting for him to get off the line so you can get up
get
there
out of the way.
and
I
take
used
a whack
to.
at
Oh
it.
man, I used to run to the line. If somebody left me on a double, I was on the line before they pulled their darts. I couldn't wait to hammer that thing home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was kind of weird. I had so much more enthusiasm back then, and now I'm
Yeah,
older.
you're older
so
and slower
hopefully
now.
I'm wiser.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take a break. I know we're going long tonight. You'll have to forgive us. We're gonna come back and talk what Premier League.
Yeah.
We'll talk Premier League. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark, Steve Ponziello. We'll be right back.
Against lackluster darting administration and behaviour. Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
Okay, back for the, third period of Dart Talk,
Yes.
brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. They just pulled Harvey to start the 8th.
Hockey results?
Yeah, in the chat room, I will give the answer to the little riddle of the background after the last break. And if you want to update the Rangers Capitals game for us, I'd appreciate that. I was dying to watch this game. Just dying. There's nothing like a Game 7 in hockey playoffs. It's just everything is, you're on the edge of your seat every time somebody takes a shot.
They're going to start the Hawks series on Sunday, which means we'll be doing the show on a Wednesday game.
They won't go Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday?
No, probably not. I think.
Well, they do every other day. Oh. Okay, we may have to reschedule.
They probably will do Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Did they say it's starting on Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, that actually will work out.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do we? Okay, I'm totally. What are we doing?
Premier League.
Premier League. Okay. Okay. So let's run down the what happened in Newcastle last week.
Well,
last Thursday.
First match,
Judgment Day,
Chizzy just smokes Bunting 7-1,
which was like totally not a shocker. I believe
we both had Chizzy on that one.
Yeah.
If you really want some stats on this one, 104-90 says it all, pretty much right there.
I tell you, Bunting is going to look back on this Premier League as being like...
He did have 2 shots at a double. 102, 50%, baby.
I was never sold on his technique. He's a great player, obviously, so, what do I know is what, some people would say. But looking at the way he threw, I was just sort of like, I don't really see how you can sustain this week in and week out. It just didn't seem possible to me, and enough with the Peter Griffin jokes.
Okay. Then you have Lewis against Van Gerwen. We both pick Van Gerwen, and Lewis throws wins 7-5, averages a 108.
See, that's the thing about 80. I mean, it's like poking a bear.
Van Gerwen throws 103 and loses.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. It's almost like they flopped the scores. You would expect Van Gerwen to shoot the 108 and Lewis to shoot the 103 and lose. Spectacular
Now,
darts
granted,
by
Van
80.
Gerwen didn't have to win.
No, it was I don't
was
know.
out.
Yeah, Lewis was out, and he's just got a point to prove going back to that World Championship where he waffled the winning double against Van Gerwen and ended up losing the first year Van Gerwen won it, and he's just sort of I don't know. I think there's talk about something to forget, But he's always motivated to beat Van Gerwen. I don't think he's convinced Van Gerwen is better, even though, Van Gerwen's pretty much proven it.
Right.
Well, he didn't
right.
prove it last
Well,
week, but that's all you can do. That was something Patrick Harrington
all
used to say.
competitors always won't say anybody's better for the most part.
Yeah. I think
or
it was,
they still think they're going to win.
Well, Patrick Harrington won a major a few years ago when Tiger was still pretty much winning them all. And he said something I never forgot. He said, look, Tiger's the number one player in the world, but you got to make him prove it. Mm-hmm. And you got to make him prove it every match.
Right.
Darren Young's number one in America. Make him prove it. Make him beat you.
Yeah. But
Right.
that doesn't mean you can't.
Don't help him.
That doesn't mean they're unbeatable by any
No,
means.
I don't. Who's unbeatable?
Right.
Show me the undefeated darter. I want to talk to him or her.
Then you have James Wade against RVB.
And this was the first of the two matches that were critical as far as who was getting through.
Yeah, for the playoffs.
Right. Van Barneveld needed a minimum of 1 point to guarantee that he makes the playoffs.
Right.
And he got it.
He got it with a tie.
He got it with a tie, which meant that Taylor going into the next match against Anderson
Has to win.
Taylor was win or go home.
Which I picked the draw. Woohoo.
Yeah.
You picked Van Barneveld, so
you were right.
So you get the loss there, but
and
nothing spectacular here with the numbers.
I don't see Van Barneveld winning the Premier League this year. I see him possibly advancing when somebody else messes up, but I don't see Van Barneveld going out there, averaging 109 and beating anyone.
Right.
I see Van Barneveld
he
showing
hasn't
up,
done it yet,
playing his game, and trying to survive
right.
and making the other guy hit. And that's kind of a tough opponent to play, And, it's not like Van Barneveld's not capable of stringing together, 5 or 6 11 darters in a row. But, mentally, I can't see him beating Van Gerwen unless Van Gerwen doesn't show up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they get,
this is a lot of doubles.
Yeah. I just don't see that happening.
And then, like you said, Phil Taylor has to win to keep his hopes up, and he loses 5-7 to Gary Anderson. We both picked Taylor.
Yeah, it's 5-5. They pretty much just traded legs, and then Taylor's got 102 left, leaves himself double 11 and whiffs it.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's awfully confident. I'd be racking my brains to figure out a way not to leave double 11 on a dart to save my life. I mean, you got 82 left, and Taylor must have felt like the triple was there because normally he goes double bull, double 16 on 82.
Yeah, because obviously he didn't hit the triple 20 first. Because,
right.
Yeah.
You'd have been on 42. I don't
Right.
know how on earth
you would leave
double
22.
11 from.
You hit double 10.
I can't see that happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
He's throwing it the 610 wire on 42 and throws it in double 10. I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
I would. That's something I would do.
Well, if you're going to miss that bad, had he banged in the double 11, I think Anderson would have just smacked him on the back of the
Exactly
head.
right.
There's no excuse for throwing two cruddy darts and then hitting a double to beat me.
Right.
There's no excuse for that. Just mental note to all listeners. Yeah, and then the last leg was meaningless. The tie wasn't going to do him any good.
Right. So,
Eventually Anderson hits double one, and Taylor's discouraged. And I don't know what to make of a guy who can't win averaging over 100 every week, except it's timing. It's all about timing. It's like, when are your ton 80s? Mm-hmm. And, when are your big outs? You need to do that on the other guy's throw. And on your throw, just go down ton 40, ton 40,
and take it
leave
out.
yourself something
But
easy
you
to clean
can't
up.
be 21%, 25%, 30% on your doubles every week.
Well, no, and that's why he's in the situation he's in. I don't think there's anything much wrong with his scoring. I think if he wanted to hit more ton 80s, he could go back to thinner barrels. But what it seems to me is he's off on the double 16 that used to be, he would hit it in his sleep all the time, and that cost him, earlier in the season, and he never did, overcome that. He had plenty of opportunities to advance, so he's probably just, I just didn't get it done.
Right.
Kind of.
So, even though there's a week left, it doesn't matter.
No, it's all positioning
Van
for next
Barneveld
week.
is 3 points ahead, so yeah, it's Van Gerwen, Chizzy Anderson, and Van Barneveld have secured their playoff spots. Anderson's-
Chizzy can still take the 1 spot,
Yeah,
and so he could play the 4.
Right.
It's all about positioning now.
right.
Anderson
and Barneveld are 1 point away from third, fourth.
So who's everyone playing next week?
Well, that would
Taylor's going to play.
be Taylor against Wade, Van Barney against Bunting.
What do you? Okay, let's stop right there. Taylor against Wade in an absolutely meaningless end of season. I mean, Taylor would call in a reliever if he could.
Oh, absolutely.
I think. So now this is all just about, putting it in Wade's head that, he can't beat him. Wade putting it in Phil's head that he can. I mean, that's all they're playing for. They're playing for pride.
Yeah.
Right? Who's got more pride than Phil Taylor? You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't think Phil's going to go in there and just like throw lefty or something and just not care.
I wonder if he'll just go. I think he may just go in there to try to throw a 9-darter, and he may do some goofy stuff. 3 darts in your hand, go for a double bull. Who cares? Kind of stuff. I mean, I don't see Phil unless he gets a big lead trying to go like double when he's on 64, trying to go double 16 double. Phil doesn't showboat like that, really. On 6. So the match itself, I don't see much cachet in watching it. I mean, the punters, I'm sure Phil will be favored, but
Yeah.
and he may just have enough. He may be a little red, you know what I mean, and like really stick it to James. I don't see James. James doesn't strike me as being a good.
Does that mean you're taking Taylor?
Yeah, yeah. Why not? Just double down on Taylor. You get your money back eventually, right?
Right. No, I would take Taylor as well. And then you have Van Barneveld against Bunting, which is
another
anything.
it means playoff position.
Van Barneveld needs to win to try and get the 3rd seed.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird because now when it comes to positioning, with Chizzy and Van Gerwen playing each other, you don't know who's going to be the 1 seed.
Right. Yeah, that's
so
right.
You're going to have to just play straight and try to win, right? So I think all those like weird little thoughts that people might have are kind of out the window. It works out pretty well. So you got Van Barneveld against Bunting. There's no way on earth.
I mean,
you
really,
take
in the
Bunting
long
there.
run, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're the 4th seed, you have to beat Van Gerwen. If you're at the 3 seed, you have to beat the person. And if Van Gerwen happens to lose, well, you still have to beat the person that beat Van Gerwen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're sitting armchair quarterbacking and you talk about brackets and everything, well, yeah, sure. But in the long run,
it doesn't matter.
But it could.
I think you're trying. Yeah, I mean, obviously
you could. Believe me. I mean,
would you rather have
Would you rather play Chizzy or Van Gerwen?
Right. I mean, the first round.
I mean,
of the playoffs,
I think the players would have a preference.
I'd rather be the 3 seed playing the 2 seed, which is not Van Gerwen, and have a match under your belt
might be.
in order to be right.
Yeah, it might be Van Gerwen. See, that's the thing. You don't know who it's going to be yet because Van Gerwen is playing Chizzy last.
Right.
So the winner of that will be the 1 seed.
Exactly.
Well, actually, Van Gerwen's the 1 seed unless Chizzy beats him.
Yeah, they could draw.
Because if they draw, then
matter.
they both get a point, and then it's still It's still Van Gerwen number 1. So it's likely Van Gerwen's number 1. Yeah, but you can't take Bunting anyway. There's no way. You can't take him.
No.
You kidding me?
No,
the guy's been barely breaking 90. I mean, there's just no way. The interesting match is
I can't take bunting either.
Yeah, the interesting match is Lewis and Anderson.
Lewis Anderson is next.
I mean, Anderson is a bit off the boil, they say, and Lewis just came off a great match, right? So I don't know, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, he had nothing to play for last week. Throws at 108.
Yeah, because he's such. What's underrated about 80's game is that he finishes. He's a good finisher. He's not as good as Phil. And I'm talking about like taking out, 138s and taking out 144s and, big 3-dart outs. I mean, I've seen 80 do it like constantly, and he doesn't bat an eye. I mean, he's on 137 and he throws the darts in the same amount of time he does when he's on 501. I mean, it's just boom, boom, boom. And I like that about him, and I never saw that from Anderson. I've never seen Anderson go to the line and look like a confident finisher the way 80 does.
Right.
So, the problem with Anderson is, the guy he's a machine scoring. I mean, he just, every time he goes to the line, I'm down, here's another ton 80.
Yeah.
80 can do that, but 80's like not as consistent in the last year or so than Anderson as far as scoring goes. So that's a tough one. I'll take draw. I haven't picked a draw in 2 weeks. I'll take a draw there.
All right. I will take Anderson.
Okay. Interesting.
And then the match of the night, Van Gerwen against Chizzy for the top spot.
Yeah, and Van Gerwen coming off a loss.
And Chizzy coming off a waxing.
Yeah, well, I don't... When the other guy doesn't show up, I mean, I don't know what you get out of a match like that. Yeah, I played good. On to the next week. I mean, what does it prove? I mean, it proves that, like, if you throw really cruddy, you're going to lose. I mean, so I don't know that Chizzy got much out of that. I think, if anything, Van Gerwen will be more motivated after losing last week.
I think Van Gerwen's going to go into this match and show Chizzy the what for.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking,
if you think you have any hopes of winning this thing, you
well,
have to.
Let me disabuse you of that notion entirely.
That's what I think he's going to do.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I would double down on MVG this week.
Yeah, I think we're both taking MVG. I think he's going to walk in there and say, "I'm going to show you who really is the number one seed." And see what happens.
Wow, we're done. And
yeah,
there
we
was
got
another
4 minutes.
segment I wanted to get to.
So anyway, that's it. That starts
it starts tomorrow.
There's a whole that's tomorrow, and then
the
playoffs start the 21st. So
yeah, and that'll be we'll do a little. What is today? The 13th.
Yes.
Yeah, so next Thursday. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Okay.
So we'll have a preview before.
Yeah. There was another segment I wanted to get to, and we're not going to have time.
Still have to. We have to take our third break because.
Tell everybody the thing. Okay, all right. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to wrap up the show. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark, Steve Poncelmo. We'll be right back.
You are now and forevermore warned that you consume this show at your own risk, and that Dart Talk cannot be brought to justice in any court or by any government, including and not restricted to the grand spaghetti monster of the Triple 20.
Okay, back for the fourth quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Rangers are in overtime.
We're in the
I don't think we'll see Bill.
We're in the 2-minute drill already for the fourth quarter. I mean, it's just
it's
bam.
a 2-minute drill. Bam, bam, bam. Sorry we went long, but, live radio, things happen. Live iCast, things happen. We'll be back next week, and we will talk about whether dart professionals are supermodels. I just thought this was a fascinating topic. So you can... I was going to spring that on you because you actually don't know anything about it, but
I didn't recognize the picture.
it was a I'll get to that. But remind me now, next week you have to ask me why are dart professionals like supermodels?
Oh yeah, that's right.
I
That's
had
what
this
you want
whole
to get
thing
to.
mapped
Right.
out for that, and I wanted to get to it.
Okay.
And it was going to be an interesting conversation, but we're not going to have time tonight, so we'll do that next week. As far as shout-outs, Ryan Vandeweghe's having a birthday.
Happy birthday.
So New York, New Jersey guy, tri-state guy. Happy birthday, Ryan. Hope I see you soon.
Going to Grand Rapids this weekend?
I don't know if I will go or not. I may stop by Sunday and play the singles. I don't know yet because the Hawks are playing.
Right.
And one
the
has to have
afternoon.
their one has to have their priorities straight.
Yeah.
In the afternoon.
I believe it's an
Well,
afternoon.
that knocks out Grand Rapids. I'm not, I won't pay attention. I'll be watching a hockey game, and I'll get third call.
Right.
I'll be Dave DePriest. Can't do that. Dave's a good guy. He's just late to the board a lot. As far as the background goes, this week, Friday, is the Ides of March.
Okay.
The Ed Sullivan Show was canceled on the Ides of March in 1971.
Okay.
So that's
Who
my
in their right
tribute
mind
to...
would know that?
It's a pretty smart chat room. What was it? Guest 889 came close. At least they got Ed Sullivan in the doors.
Right.
But yeah, the Ides of March was when they announced Ed Sullivan's was canceled. Long-running variety show.
That's when they announced it, but it wasn't the actual last day of the Ed Sullivan Show?
I don't know if it was or not.
Oh, okay.
It was. I actually was trying to figure out something else, and I just came across something on Smithsonian.com, the Smithsonian channel or website.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. If you can get to it. So we'll do the supermodel thing next week, but that was the whole deal behind, because this week's the Ides of March. We got to have a theme every week now. It's sometimes it's easy,
I didn't
sometimes
even realize
it's not.
it was the Ides of March. But
Well, the 15th.
well, I know. I just didn't think about it.
I
mean,
gotcha.
you know.
I gotcha on that. You were schooled. I like that. You got anything? What are you doing this weekend? Preakness?
Is
that this weekend?
Yeah, and I got some kids softball games to watch, and
Amateur softball
and some golf.
and some golf. You got rained out last weekend.
Yes,
huh?
unfortunately.
I
So-
came about. Where's the camera? I came this close to grabbing a 7-iron and walking down to the range and smacking a bucket
Oh,
of
really?
balls the other day. If my back would just cooperate, I might get out there.
Yeah. So that
And the other thing I want to do is play catch. I want to go. I may go to the ballpark like tomorrow. It's a day game with a glove, and just stand on Waveland Avenue and play catch with a stranger.
find somebody else there.
I need to kind of just throw something.
Right.
Does that sound weird?
No.
Sounded weird
So-
when I thought
When
it
you
up.
thought
I was
about
like,
it?
okay, you're a grown man, dude. You're going to go to the ballpark and try to play catch? Really? You should see these guys out there, trying to catch home run balls.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to one of the guys. I'm like, is that the same height? He's like, yeah, but it's 8 foot longer. And I looked at him. I'm like, that's going to catch like 30% of the balls out of the ballpark are now not coming to you.
Right. Because now they got to be moon balls.
You're going to have to, yeah. Well, we got a guy that can hit those.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. We're going to wrap it up, and we will be back same time next week. You remind me about the supermodel thing. Anybody traveling to, let's see, what is it, Oregon this weekend? There's a Wisconsin soft tip thing this weekend. There's Grand Rapids this weekend. So there's darts to play. Get out there and play it. And we will dart talk to everybody next week. We'll
will.
also give you our final list of our CDC fantasy thing, which It's going to take like 3 hours
Yeah.
to pick 24 people. I don't know. If you're going to rip me off, I don't mind, but you got to, rip
Yeah.
me off correctly.
Right.
Okay.
Keep it in the same boundaries.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll Dart Talk to you next week. I didn't record the audio.